Let me tell you a little bit about Scott Nolan, Founders Fund, which was created by Peter Thiel. These people, they are so like out of their mind, but it's this goes so far back. We don't know anything about him. I want to know about his family. I want to know about who his parents are. I want to know about, nobody knows. I've looked up everything. Nothing can find on him. And the reason I say this is because of his ties to medicine with technology. And because he got his start with Elon Musk. But it's not just that. It's not. It goes back to like philanthropy. It goes back to Des Plaines, Illinois. It goes back to my first nursing job. So I want to know who he is. You may think, oh, Scott Nolan is a common name. Yeah, but you know what? What's not so common is this. Not everybody gets their name on a hospital, okay? And it's not on there anymore because it was bought. But AI is not telling the truth about this hospital either. I know it because it was my first nursing job where all of my hell began. I mean, literally, where the nightmare began with the most corrupt and morally bankrupt people ever. But as you could see, it was named Scott Nolan Hospital. I can't remember why they named it that. I want to say it goes back to an Arthur J. Nolan, okay? A philanthropist that then goes back to the Ada Rice Foundation. And all of this stuff that I experienced at this damn place, okay? That I don't think they meant to do what they did to me, okay? They had other agendas. Their globalist agenda. This is going back to 2012. 2012, 13. When around, okay, but what they did was completely unethical. I've never let it go. I haven't, because you just don't do what these people did. And yet not everybody gets their name on a hospital. So I want to know who, yet I can't find one thing about this Scott Nolan that's tied. Also being tied, not this picture, but being tied to being a stakeholder and helped Musk buy Twitter, okay? And then above this, it goes back to this. Mystery firm wins access to $2.7 billion in Department of Energy HALEU funds, which that means uranium funds. Well, it went back to Scott Nolan. And Scott Nolan profile basically says, Scott is a partner at Founders Fund. He works with mission-driven founders, re-architecting industries. Scott supports Synthago. I'm going to tell you about that in a minute. But collective health, modern animal, and over a dozen more engineering-driven startups across biotech, crypto, energy, infrastructure, manufacturing, and transportation. Prior to Founders Fund, Scott was an early employee at SpaceX, where he helped develop the original Falcon propulsion system and multiple Dragon subsystems. After SpaceX, Scott worked at Bain and Company, a global like equity firm. Yeah, you know, those soulless people. With its private equity clients, and co-founded a consumer internet company built on the Facebook Connect API. Scott earned a bachelor's and master's degree in mechanical and aerospace engineering from Cornell in under 4 years. Really? And received his MBA from Stanford University, of course, because it's in Silicon Valley, basically. Where he was co-president of the Entrepreneurs Club and voted most likely to drop out by his peers. Oh, well, not a surprise. So Scott Nolan, he lives in basically lives in New Zealand, where he's just been trying to, get, do his globalist agenda, okay? He's just one you don't want. I want to know more about him. So it says here, the EHF investor fellow Scott Nolan built his first rocket at the age of 6. The rocket was launched from the field behind a local elementary school in his home state of Missouri, spiraled upward, and then didn't do much at all aside from crashing to the ground. He describes that as his first experience as less than notable, but it began a multi-decade journey in rocketry, and he certainly got a lot better at designing rockets as he got older. Scott has been fascinated with airplanes and spacecrafts. As you can, it ties to Boeing. I mean, what we've been having these plane crashes. Scott has been fascinated with airplanes and spacecraft as long as he can remember, which led him to studying mechanical and aerospace engineer at the university. Again, becoming an early employee of SpaceX, Elon Musk's leading edge private space company. See, the reason this is important with this hospital, I went back to it, was because the hospital was very tied into all of the Cook County, which Chicago politics, the Cook County politics, okay? That's the reason why when I fought him, I got nowhere. Even the Chicago Tribune wouldn't report on it, okay? Even though I talked to one of their reporters that works for ProPublica now. But they were not going to touch it because Maryville Academy still going strong today. They really need to be shut down. But they were tied to Chicago Tribune. They were tied to all the politicians, the governor. And so everything that they did was really like they wanted to close, they wanted to merge, because all of this, we're going back to 2012, 13, okay, 2012, when everything went down. It was 2014 when they closed this hospital. It's still open. It's called Chicago Behavioral Health. Yeah, so the nun, because Maryville is a bunch of residentials for kids in the state system with psychiatric problems. Yeah, I've said this nun should not be around children, okay? She doesn't know how to do the right thing. She used to be involved at juvenile justice. It's in Springfield. She shouldn't, but that's how protected this place is, okay? That's why it was a waste of time for me to try to fight any of them. Even though they totally did me wrong in every single way. As you can see, I don't let this one go. This one is just... So you can say, oh, well, this is a different Scott Nolan. No, I don't think it is. Why don't we know who his parents are? And how is it that when they've been tied, this hospital has been tied to all of the dirty Chicago politics that's also tied to the tech stuff? Because this guy, this Scott Nolan... The other thing about this hospital is it used to be called, before the orphanage, which was Maryville, bought it, it was Forest Hospital. And they were almost shut down, and then I think Maryville bought them. This hospital was doing wrong things to people, and then now, when it was Forest Hospital, but what they were really caught for was all of their government Medicare fraud billing. There was all these reports on it, okay? So, and again, I'm saying this because with this, when I worked, we housed, this was the acute hospital for many of the Maryville residentials, but any DCFS wards, okay? So when they're in this, I've said before, when they're the state system, the state is their guardian, which is just a fear right there, scary stuff, okay? And then they had ties, because our oversight was University of Illinois, Chicago. I already explained, I don't want to go into this story about how they're all connected, how they all did me wrong, even though they didn't mean to. They did. Then none of them wanted to do the right thing. They knew what they were doing was lies. I'm just so pissed off. I'm so pissed off because Scott Nolan goes back to all this philanthropy, all of these people that have these long family lines, and then it just so happens that here in 2025, this one who got started with Musk, who you don't ever hear about, but I guess was shooting rockets since he was 6, okay, has been able to get billion-dollar contracts with our Department of Energy, and started with Musk, Peter Thiel, and is a partner at Founders Fund. It's all part of the same damn dirty shit. Same dirty shit. Every state, throughout the country, everywhere.